Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Tuesday.
You're into this. I like this. Now I know what day it is. That's good. Because sometimes the days run in together. So I appreciate
it. And we provide value right at the beginning.
Correct. So everybody knows at least one thing today. That's one thing they're going to know the day. Are we done? Is that the end of the
show? As one of our reviewers said, it goes downhill once.
Yeah, once the little whatever it is, the opening ends. Well,
Baby steps.
That's right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Tom Brush. That's Bob Graham, and this is today's Antidote. As my wife would say, in case you couldn't read our names on the screen, you know who's who.
And you didn't hear her say right beforehand, and now Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it should be crystal clear who we are. Anyhow. Welcome to our show. We're a little punchy today. We did 2 workshops yesterday, so about eliminating the obstacles. And maybe
they were awesome, by the way, Tom. You did a marvelous job leading both of those. Some real insights for me personally, and I watched the group of people each time just have some great, like moving their business forward. It's so exciting to see that. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, I think it's fun to watch. You know, sometimes people struggle with the obstacle, and it's hard. You know, and I think, though, that when we start to look at it, and this was our goal, is rather than looking at it as an obstacle, look at it as what are the opportunities that come from it. I think that you can start to turn around those things that really hold us back. So it's fun to watch people go from overwhelm and frustration to like, maybe they have a new sense of purpose and a new sense of direction and the ability to think about that next step rather than what's holding them back. And
apparently I wasn't alone, Tom. This from Tim. The workshop was really good. He did the evening workshop. So thank you for that. I agree with them wholeheartedly.
And I think we were talking about, you know, maybe we should do this on a regular basis, because I think, as we know, there are obstacles that are going to come to us all the time, internal, external, some that we control and some that we don't control. And so we will provide more information about that in the coming days and weeks about what the frequency might be and how we can help you make sure that you're able to eliminate those obstacles and make your Renegade pathway easier. So one of the ways to do that is by being all in. Correct, Bob?
You're asking me like I just discovered this? No, absolutely. One way that we can look at how we're doing and what we want to accomplish is, are you all in? And we didn't really define it yesterday. I went back and I watched our program. So I want to just explain how I see all in first today, which is all in is you are focused on achieving your goal. You're taking outside input, but you have a course, you have a vision, you have a plan, and you are going to achieve it one way or another. You said it really well before this. We've done several planning exercises, Tom and me, over the last year, and our best laid plans never seem to materialize the way we plan them. However, I think you could pull Tom into a room and have him write down what are you guys trying to achieve. You could have me go into a room and write what I wrote, and you'd look at them and go, "Wow, these guys are really in sync." Not the boy band from the 90s. No, that's not us. We are not in sync. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. But we know what we're talking about, and we have a clear vision of what we're trying to achieve. And that's something that I think is part of being all in. A big part of it is you know what the big picture is. You know what the top of the hill looks like. You may not know how you're going to climb it. You know, you're going around the backside, up top, through the middle, you're going to parachute. But you know what the top looks like.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting as you say that, you know, because I think, you know, if you asked what's the top of the Ring of Renegades, I'm not sure I know. if you asked, what are we trying to accomplish? That I am very clear on. And I think that sometimes that's different, because we're going to head down this path, and I think we're all in on what are we trying to accomplish. And in my mind, I'm trying to determine, is that a destination, or is it the journey that we want to take to whatever that destination might be? I don't know. That's why when you gave that example as the mountain, is like, okay, we know we want to get exactly here. And I'm not sure. I don't know if I think about it that way.
Well, I'm sure if you summit one of the biggest mountains in the world and there's another mountain right next to it, your instant thought when you're at the top of the one is, damn it, now I got to go do that other one because that one looks even better. And I think, to me, what we're trying to achieve is helping every business leader, owner, and entrepreneur carve their own pathway to success. So when we've done that with every single business leader, owner, and entrepreneur, we're at the top of the hill. Now, you would know, and I know, Tom, we're never going to get to the top of that hill, but that is certainly a guiding principle to me, that we can make decisions based on that. Hey, does having the workshop last night, did that help us towards doing that? Absolutely. There have been other things that we've done that we haven't thought met that criteria, and we've abandoned them. I mean, we have a year track record that you can look those up, which is fine. That's normal.
Part of the process.
Part of success is figuring out what works and what doesn't work. And I'm thankful that you and I are willing to try things without going, okay, what if it doesn't work? We don't usually have that discussion. It's more like, well, so we learned this from that, and let's move on. And I think that's a big part of All In, is looking at it that way. Peter says, I'm going to jump in with this. Carving pathways towards sounds like a journey. Yes, I would agree with him as he puts it that way. And then Tim says, I really don't know where the destination is, but I have a real good idea of the path I want to take. The benefits for me lie along the path, not in imagining what the destination might look like. Yeah, I have no idea what the destination is going to look like. I don't really care. I would just like to know where I am in the next step. That would be soothing to me at this moment on Tuesday morning, to know what the thing is I can do today to move towards that, which, thanks to last night, I have much more clarity on.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's an interesting thing is that, as it relates to being all in an experience, is I think in what we were just talking about, you were sharing, was that we're all in on trying to figure it out, right? Is that we may not have all the answers. And being all in doesn't mean that we're going to spend every waking minute of every day focused on it. I think that's one of the fallacies of being all in. I think all in is being committed to a pathway, or the way you're going to travel that pathway. Because there are shortcuts you could take. There are no doubt. There are other ways you could travel. And I think that we are choosing this way to travel that pathway to help us get and help others get to wherever it is that they want to be. And really, the only way to do that, in my mind, is that we have to be all in on being willing to take the next step, whatever that might be. And to me, that's the experience. We talked yesterday a little bit about knowledge, and knowledge is kind of a bigger, greater, wider understanding in my mind. And experience is more taking the action. Again, we have no idea what the results of that workshop was going to be until we do it. We can guess. We can put our best thoughts forward of like, okay, here's who we think is going to show up. Here's who we think might be some of their challenges, and try to understand, well, what the outcome might be from that. And until we do it, we'll never really know. And if we're not willing to take that step, are we truly all in? Are we willing to take the step of uncertainty as a way to better understand what are the results of that experience? And I think sometimes people are the, you know, our inner obstacles of fear, overwhelm, uncertainty itself hold us back from having experiences that would ultimately lead us to greater information. You know, if you're unwilling to take that step, how will you ever know what the results will be? If we had been like, you know what, I don't think enough people have signed up, let's not have this event. We'll never know what the ultimate results might have been. We could guess, and that's truly what it would be. And I think that when you are all in, you're willing to take those uncertain steps to figure out what can I gain from it? How can I impact what is real for me so that I can then help others figure out what's real for them?
I also think one of the pitfalls we run into when we're looking at experiences, we're looking at results in a very concrete way. So you went to the trade show, you were there for 6 hours, you met 97 people and you sold nothing. Or you met with 10 people and you sold 5. Which one is success? I would argue that being in front of those 97 people could potentially be huge because it's 97 people that know what you do and might talk to. They talk to 2 each. You've suddenly reached 300. But I often see, you know, at trade shows, Zoom calls. I talk to a lot of people that do Zoom networking. They're like, I didn't get one sale from that networking event. And it's like, really? Shocking. You thought that we'd see your face on the screen, you'd tell us about your business for 37 seconds, and you were going to close someone. Wow. You must be really good because I can't do that. I don't know many people that can. And I think that's one of the challenges we have when we're looking at experience. What are the factors in that experience? What are we looking at? Sometimes the experience can just be, hey, I went to this event I've never been to before. I got through it. And I found some language that resonates. You know, I was telling you the other day, Tom, that when I was teaching college courses, the first time I taught a course, all I wanted to do is get done teaching that course. Just survive the semester. Because you don't know what you're doing. You're trying to stay a week ahead of the students. You don't know what questions are going to come up. You don't know if your examples are good. But at the end of that first semester, you know, I'd sit down and write, okay, now I got to change the syllabus, do these things differently, change everything around. And the second time through, it was a finely oiled running machine. But that first time through, and I would tell new teachers that all the time. I'm like, it's your first semester teaching this course? Yeah, just survive it.
Right.
And I think sometimes that's what we need to do. Part of the experience is just surviving something new, putting yourself out there and experiencing it. You know,
right.
You're gonna have an example of that this week, right?
I've already had it twice yesterday.
Twice,
and another one Thursday. Yes.
And Tom's speaking to a group that he hasn't spoken to before. It's a great opportunity, and you know, I will, when you get done it, if you call me or text me, my thing will be, dude, you survived. That's awesome. The next day, I might ask you, hey, how'd it go? What did you learn? What was the discovery? But just to get through standing in front of 120 people, talking about a topic that they're not really that excited about, that's it. Now I'm scaring you. Sorry.
No, not at all. Here's the thing I know is that, you know, some of those experiences I've had, I've stood up in front of a group and spoke to them. And everything is different, right? Every experience is unique because there are different people in the room. You said it yourself last night. We were talking about teaching the same class 3 times a day. That every class was different because the people in the room were different. Yep. And that you might have shared the information, well, even if you shared it exactly the same, others were receiving it differently. And so for them, they were going to react sometimes the same, but oftentimes differently than the other group. And so you kind of never know, like, what's the hidden piece in that experience that is different from the last time you had done it. And for you, you knew, okay, I did this the first time during the day. All right, what can I take away from that? Maybe I make a little tweak here or there. Okay, great. Oh, that one seemed to go a little bit better. I'll try to do the same thing the next time. And then you do the same thing. and there's somebody in the room who doesn't get it or wants to be a pain in your neck and just starts asking questions that take you off track. Right. And so I think that, to me, the being all in that experience is that you are willing to do it and understand that it is not always going to be exactly the same. And that's okay. That there's an opportunity each time we do something to add to what our experience is. And that our willingness to do those things that we are uncertain about as a way to gain that experience and have it impact us is, to me, being all in.
Tom, we have a question from Tim. How do I parse out the areas of my life where I am all in? I have a family, a church, hobbies, and a business. I feel like my life is a balance of all these things, and I'm not sure how to justify being all in my business when these other things have great import to me.
That's a great question.
Yeah, we could do a whole week on that.
Well, and here's the other thing you can think about is like most people who in their jobs or in their roles or in their business have multiple responsibilities. So, Tim is talking about how do I have these things, business, home, life, church, all the things that are important to him. But also in your work or in your business, you have, okay, I'm responsible for communications, marketing, sales, and management of my team. How do I balance those times? And I think it's a matter of prioritizing things. One of the things I like to tell people when they come up with goals for the year is how much time are you going to allocate to those? What is the priority for them? Now, the beauty is you can still be all in. I think Tim could be all in on all of those things. Just understanding that what does all in mean for each of them? If all in for, which is the top priority? And what does all in mean for that? And how much time do I give that? So if, he might say family, I have to give 50% of whatever I have to my family. And that is being all in. So that when I have those 50% of that time, I'm solely focused on that. Not thinking about work. I'm not thinking about this. I'm not thinking about my church. I'm not thinking about the hobbies that I have. And I think that's the ability to say, I'm focused on this in the moment. This next step is important. And when I take that, I can then determine, okay, what is my next step? And how can I be all in the moment for that? So that, I think one of the biggest challenges we have today because of the cell phone is we're not all in. We're sitting around the dinner table with people looking at their cell phone. So yeah, you're in family time, but you're really looking at like, okay, what's the email message I just got? What's the latest post on social media? Are you all in with where you are at the moment, the experience that you're having, or not? And I think that all in doesn't mean you have to be in. You can't give 100% of yourself to all of those things. Only maybe within the moments that you have chosen. One of the things I always like to say to people who, is everything can't be a top priority. Because when you do that, nothing is a priority. It's all just a wash if everything is the same.
And I think, you could be all in at with your work, but if you have a family crisis, one of your kids is suddenly sick and you have to go pick them up at school, that to me doesn't take away from being all in. You can't tell the school, hey, I'm sorry, this is my 3 hours where I'm really all in on my business. You're just going to have to wait 2 hours. I know they're bleeding really badly, but I scheduled my day out and I don't want to lose that schedule. And that's part of the juggling act, especially for families where kids are being homeschooled right now, and the ability to focus on things. But I think that makes it even more important when you're doing whatever you're doing, that you're solely focused on that thing. I was working with a company earlier this morning with a tip of the week, a customer service tip of the week. And the tip of the week was focus only on the customer that you're working with right now.
Right.
It's the same thing with what we do, whatever you're doing. If you're having family time, it's all family time. If it's business time, it's all business time. If you're making calls, it's all calls. It's not make 2 calls and then stop and check your email. It's not make 2 calls and then check your basketball brackets.
Well, that could be someone's way of being like, you know what, my attention span. That's the other thing I think we have to really understand is what is our focus and attention span? Can we, I think it's interesting to watch when people block out their time. Say, all right, I'm going to spend 3 hours on this project. Really? You're pretty focused if you can stay solely committed to one thing for that long of a time frame. When a lot of studies show that people can't maintain their attention for more than 15 or 20 minutes at a time, and it might even be less than that. And so how we look at that is, and I think that's one of the things that business employees and leaders have to manage of what does all in mean. And, what it means for you doesn't necessarily mean that's what it is for someone else on your team. And even within your team, what does that mean? And that the way people address that, again, is going to be different. If I'm somebody who can laser focus for an hour, great. If I'm somebody who can only do it for 30 minutes, being all in is going to look different. I'm going to be up maybe from my desk and walking around a little bit more. Does that mean I'm less effective? Not necessarily. It just means that the way I approach being all in is unique to me. If that makes sense.
I think that it does. And I think it's a great topic to really think through in terms of being all in. And what has your experience from the past? How does that affect what you think of as all in? Because sometimes I'm like, oh, I've been down this road before. If I totally commit to this, I'm going to not be able to sleep. I'm not going to be able to do these things on the weekends. It's really important to me that you have that sense that what happened before might be different. I had a job when I was in my 20s at a newspaper that was 70 hours a week. Every time I get super busy, I think back to that time and I start to, this is going to get really bad. I'm a different person. The world's different. I would never fall into that trap again. But in my head, I'm playing the replay machine from, 1990 over and over. And that experience can color negatively being all in unless I check it. I want to add Tim's comment, if I may.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bob. That really helped clarify that for me. My responsibilities often pull me away from whatever it is I'm doing at the moment. Ignoring social media is a skill that I'm learning. It's been my biggest time suck recently, starting at the beginning of the pandemic. You and me both, dude.
Well, I think that's a lot for everyone and trying to figure out how do you manage that? What does that, and being okay with that, that might be where you are at this moment. And that understanding what's going on in the world around us might be being all in on your life and being all in on understanding what is happening at this moment. So how do I just prioritize that within what I'm doing? And
also, it might be a sense of community because I certainly feel less social than I'm accustomed to and that I like. So I find sometimes, responding to people's tweet comments builds a sense of community for me. And I know that's part of what makes me tick. Sure. So there's that, there's that give and take. What is, if you're on social media, because since the pandemic started, what are you getting from it? Is it replacing the fact that you're able to go out to coffee with your friends and socialize and all those things? That might not be as bad as if it's just, I really dread having to work today, so I'm going to stare at Instagram all day long. There's a big difference there.
Sure. And it's as long as you understand what that is and why it is and what priority do you place on it. Because you won't know until you do it. Tim has learned that it's a time suck only because he actually did it and may think, all right, well, that was a waste of time. Well, what it actually did was say, over this time frame that I've been doing this, I am now going to classify that as a time suck. So it's not the priority that he might have thought it was 6 months ago. And that means it just has changed. And it's changed because he went through it and understood that, okay, I can see, it's funny. Somebody mentioned TikTok to me yesterday. And so I went in and just took, I didn't know what it was. So I went in and took a look at it. And I could see immediately how you could get caught just scrolling through it. Mm-hmm. And having done that, I now understand that my choice was, I'm not going to do that. Someone else might be like, you know what, this adds value. I need whatever I need. I need a little humor. I need to look at puppies. I need that to help me move through my day. And that's what's real. And so if that's a priority for you, that's okay. And just figure out how you fit it in with everything else you have. And remembering that you don't have 110%. That doesn't exist. I think that we only have 100%. And if we always forget about, we have to sleep, we have to eat, we have to have some downtime. And then, okay, what do we have left? And how are we going to maximize the time that we have?
Peter writes, my all-in is a long game. Inside the longer game are many shorter, intense moments of focus where I'm in the zone on behalf of the longer all-in. I like that. That's nice.
Yeah. And what I love about it, and Peter has defined it that way for himself, which is great. And I think that some people would read that and be like, I don't really understand that. And that's okay as well. They can now, because Peter has shared it, say, longer game, shorter game, with inside the longer game. That's an interesting perspective. Maybe that's a way that I can start to look at my experiences and how I want to work through it.
What's your one thing today, Tom? That today's antidote, that thing that's going to help us be better off than we were before we started this program where we told people who we were 3 or 4 different ways?
Yeah. I would say I would go back to that, to me, being all in is one, taking the step that you're uncertain about. And as it relates to experience, is that we will never understand whatever it is, the time we spend on social media, the first time we run a performance review meeting, the first time we stand up in front of a crowd and give a presentation, the first time we run a workshop, the first time you do a Facebook Live. Until you have done that, you're probably not all in. Or you have intentionally chosen, this is not a path that I am going to follow because I believe the results are not going to provide what I have. Now, you may have enough knowledge and experience and perspective to make that decision, or you've looked at what are the opportunities from it and you don't believe that that's enough. And that's okay. And I think sometimes, though, we need to take that step and figure out, okay, now that I've done it, what have I learned? Not it was good or bad or whatever, just what have I learned? And so I think being willing to take that uncertain step so that we can have a better understanding of that experience will help us move forward.
I would add to that no matter what the experience you have is, find something positive that comes out of it. Just any one thing that's positive, because I know I can criticize myself really well. That inner critic is alive and well every day. But when you typically force me to go, okay, what's one good, what did we learn from this? What we usually get to a good thing that sparks the next step in a way that if I'm just going, that could have been so much better. I should have asked this question. I should have done this thing. I shoulda, woulda, coulda doesn't do as much as, hey, okay, what worked? Even if it was, I met the time deadline. It was an hour presentation. I covered all the material in 1 hour. Hey, you know what? That's a good day for me sometimes.
Or like you said before, you did it and survived.
Yeah.
It didn't kill you. You took a step and you figured out, now let's just evaluate. What did I learn? Not good, bad, indifferent, just what did I learn? And how do I use that, leverage that to help me the next time I'm in that situation or a similar?
So folks, if you're saying, hey, I've got these things, I'm all in, but it just isn't working the way I want it to work. I'm struggling a little bit. I'm stuck from time to time. I need someone to help me just accomplish all the things. I write the list out every week, but at the end of the week, that list doesn't get finished up. You might want to consider our Renegade Success Network. Tom and I built this with the goal of helping people just like you figure out how to move past obstacles, how to accomplish the things you set out to accomplish, and most importantly to both of us, to celebrate when you do accomplish them. And we love to celebrate. That's the first question we ask. So what are we celebrating this week? And that discussion usually turns everything around. I've had several discussions with people with their it really hasn't been a good week. I'm like, I need to have something to celebrate. Tom's going to make me do this. So please, can we find something to be like, okay. And then it's a huge thing. One of my clients had bought his first house. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. And he was like, well, it's not really a big deal. I'm like, are you kidding? Your first house is a huge deal. And he's like, I didn't really think about it until you told me that. Well, that changed the whole tone of the discussion. And that's why we do it. So, Tom, why don't you run the little promo that tells them more about the Renegade Success Network? And if you have questions about it, or if you want to think about whether it's right for you, Tom and I would be happy to talk to you about that, either one of us, to just see if it's a fit for you. We'll explain in more detail how it might work for you. You can share with us some of the things that you're facing, and we can say, I know Tom's straight honest, and I am, hey, we could help you with that, or this might not fit for you. So with that, Tom, why don't you play that promo? Because we're going to see people tomorrow morning I've got the list. It's super early tomorrow. We're going to be on at 6 a.m. because Tom's got a flight later in the morning. So we're going to do it at 6 a.m. So get up super early. I will be like this, Tom.
Me as well.
I may be in my pajamas.
That would be Renegade. It might be, well, I don't know. It depends on what your pajamas are. So anyhow.
I don't own pajamas. I'm a T-shirt and sweatpants kind of guy.
Okay.
Do you have pajamas? You have one of those like suits that they had, those snuggly things that they had in like the 30s. And you have the big cap, don't you?
The big cap.
You're like Fred, who is it? Fred Mertz in I Love Lucy.
Wow, have you just dated yourself? Half of the audience is like, wait, what? Who? They don't know who that is.
Everyone knows I Love Lucy. Fred is the neighbor who every time Lucy and Ricky have a problem in the middle of the night, he and Ethel come upstairs to check because they're the landlords. And Fred is always wearing like, the 1930s sleep.
You ask how many people know I Love Lucy and see how many people under the age of 30.
Please, in the comments, if you know I Love Lucy, please put a yes, I know them. Or if you don't, I don't even want to talk to you. Look it up.
I'll talk to anybody else who doesn't want to. Anyhow, folks, have a great rest of your day. We will see you inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, or we'll see you tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Eastern time for our next edition of today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone. Are you struggling to make your vision a reality? Are you stuck and don't know what to do next? Are fear and doubt holding you back? The Renegade Success Network will help you determine the next steps on your pathway. Here is some of what you will get. Create your pathway call to start you on a better path. Unlimited laser solution sessions to keep you from getting stuck. Nurture your network events to build your network with other successful leaders. Monthly Renegade challenges to prepare you for what lies ahead. The Renegade Success Vault, giving you access to videos, tools, and tips on specific topics anytime you need them. And the Renegade Success Network community, an exclusive Facebook group of like-minded renegades, all working towards achieving their goals. You have a choice. Do it yourself and fumble forward slowly and alone. Or join the Renegade Success Network and be part of a community built to help you find your own pathway. Join today at renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Act now and jumpstart your journey on your own pathway